Hi, Lawrence. Hi, Rebecca. I imagine a lot of people are going to be joining us via recording later on after I post this to the website. But thank you guys for attending today. You guys have the advantage of asking a bunch of questions if you have any. So today I'm going to talk about data cleaning, which is a very useful thing to do in CCH2. Symbiota portals have a lot of great tools that have been developed to help us clean our data in more of a batch style rather than just having to edit each occurrence record one by one. Some of the tools will just point out to you which ones you have to edit. Some will let you do the edits right there. So I'm just going to get right down to it and start sharing my screen. All right, so as always, we go into the portal, you log in, you go to your profile, collection management, and then all of the data cleaning functionalities are only accessible for administrators, which is good. That means that your data editors can't just make batch edits to a bunch of your records and make you have to do a lot of cleaning from the data cleaning. So they will all be here in this administration control panel, with the exception of the batch edit tool, which I'll show in a minute. And they're under here in general maintenance tasks, right here, data cleaning tools. So I'm going to click that, and it will take me to there are three major sets of data cleaning tools. There's duplicate records, political geography, and taxonomy. So problems with duplicates, catalog numbers and other catalog numbers, problems with countries, states, etc., and then problems with scientific names. So you'll notice here at the top it says, downloading a backup of your collection data before running any batch updates is strongly recommended. And I'm going to also emphasize that strong recommendation is just good practice to periodically download your data. And you might think, oh, dang, am I going to have lots of server space being taken up by just downloads of my data? No, in fact, one of these downloads is only a few megabytes because if you think about it, it's just one long CSV file. So if I go back to my collection management page, I can go down to download backup data file. We usually recommend downloading as UTF-8. It tends to be a little more interoperative. You just click perform backup. It's going to put all of your data into a file, and then you'll just download it to wherever you want to keep that. So I already did that earlier because I was making some batch changes in preparation for the webinar, so I already have it on my desktop in case I need it. This restore backup file is what you can use to upload that that file that you've downloaded if you need to restore to a previous version of your database. But if you run into this, then feel free to contact me or Jason so that we can help you with that. All right, going back to my data cleaning tools, I have downloaded a copy of my data set. So I can look for duplicate records, duplicate catalog numbers or duplicate other catalog numbers, and this might tell me about some of the issues that my data enterers have been having. So if I click on catalog numbers, oh look, we're in good condition. We don't have any duplicate catalog numbers. That makes sense. We don't have any duplicate barcodes. So let's go back to other catalog numbers. The story is much different for other catalog numbers for Cal Poly. This is fun. You get to see all of our dirty laundry. There's a particular issue here that I'm not going to talk about, but normally it will look something more like this, where you have a bunch of your records are showing up, and you'll notice that some of them are connected by the same color. So we have the light gray and the dark gray. And so these are the ones that have been linked or flagged as potentially being duplicates. And some of these are duplicates because someone used the same number stamp twice, and those will just kind of have to come out in the wash. But then there are some that they entered just entered the accession number wrong, and those are the ones that we can change right now, or change once we have images. So there are a couple of examples I wanted to kind of show here and just kind of demo how you would use this record or use this tool once it comes up. So I found this one, for example. Both of them are Juncus Euphonius. They have the same number. All of the other data appears to be exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter which one I keep. I just want to merge these records. So to do that, you choose which of the records you want to keep. And they only differ here in the Symbiota ID, which is just an arbitrary number that Symbiota gives to that record. You click whatever one you want to keep. The other one's going to, in essence, get deleted. And then you click Merge Duplicate Records. And I can go back, and if I go back into my duplicate records sheet, that one is no longer going to be here because I already resolved it. There are some other issues that might happen. Whoops. There we go. I have to click both of them. I did it wrong the first time. Now I can merge duplicated records. There we go. Merge records, those two. So the radio button is what lets you select which one you're going to keep. So here's the radio button. So you'll click both of them, and then the radio button will indicate which one you're going to keep out of those two. I'm learning as I'm going. Okay, so here's another one, and this one's interesting, and I want to look at it more closely to figure out why these are the same exact numbers, but one of them has a barcode number and one of them does not. So to look at that specific record, I can go over here and click on the Symbiota ID number. Okay, it looks like this one has an image, and this one does not. So this is probably, looks like, oh no, that's the Cryptantha one. I clicked on the wrong one. This one, and this one. We have the same collector, the same date, the same number, the same locality data and everything. It just appears that when our students were going through and linking the images to their records, they missed that this record already existed. So those are the same. I'm going to again select both of those, and I want to keep the one with the image. So then I'm going to merge duplicate records. There we go. So that's how you use the merging duplicate records tool. Okay, we can also do some cleanup with political geography, so with the locality information. So geographic distributions will just show you a distribution of all of your specimens in terms of country. So you'll see here that I have United States, but I also have United States of America. So I should probably fix those. You can click on the name of the country. You'll see they're both in California. So if I clicked on California here, it would just take me to a finer scale geographic distribution. So now it's giving me like the city. Instead, I want to click on the number here, and that's going to show me the actual specimen records. So we have Plagiobothris is United States of America, United States of America. Then we have a bunch that are USA. So from here, you can't actually do the batch edits. So I could go into these individually and change them one at a time. But this is probably not a very good use of your time. So this would be a good instance where I can use the batch editing tool. And that's not immediately available from the data cleaning module, but I'll show you where it is. So if you just go into your profile, collection management, edit existing occurrence records. I'm going to look for those records that have a country that equals United States of America. See, I still have those two specimens here. And then if I click this pencil with a plus right here, this is the batch update tool. And this will only appear for administrators, I believe. So then you'll say, okay, in the field called country, anything that currently says United States of America, I'm going to double check that I wrote that totally right. I want it to just say United States because that's the standardized version of USA in our database. I'm going to say match whole field because the whole field says United States of America. And then I'm going to batch update that field. And it's going to pop up and say that I'm about to update 2 records. This is good because I only expect it to see 2 records. If this said you're about to update 222 records, then something would be concerning and I would need to not do that batch update. All right, done. So there are a bunch of caveats about using the batch update tool. It's just like a find and replace function as if you were using Word or Excel. So if you just said, oh, there's someone whose last name is Smith, and I want to change it to Smith. Well, anyone whose last name is Wordsmith is going to be changed to Wordsmith if I made that batch change to all of the records in the database. So you have to be really careful about using this. You don't want to just batch update everything because you might end up introducing a lot of weird issues. And this is also another reason why it's a good idea to download your data set before you do anything with it, because you might introduce those weird errors that you weren't thinking about before. The other things you can do with geographic distributions, you see I have Lesotho is in all caps, so maybe I should go in here, go back to the batch edit tool and replace anything that's all caps Lesotho with just a capital L instead of that. And then you can also look in, okay, within Lesotho, I see that I have a bunch of specimens that are in the state of California that are in Lesotho. So that's weird. Are they in Lesotho or are they in California? Then I can start investigating that. If I look at the big image, looks like they're in Lesotho, but for some reason they were automatically introduced as in the state of California. So that's another thing that I'll want to batch update. No, well, I can't batch update that, I don't think. Ed might have to tell me something different, but this is something I'd have to change one by one. Because you cannot say, if the state is this and the country is this, then change it to this. That requires a little more complex tools that we don't currently have. Okay, and we currently don't have a list of all the accepted states within all the countries, so there's not a batch tool that will be able to recognize when there is a state that's incorrect. There are, we do have that for the United States though. So if you click on the geography cleaning tools, then it will do some cleaning steps, and then there are a couple things that you can do. So here we have questionable countries. So is Southwest Africa a country? Should I replace it with something else? How about Southwest Africa and Namibia? Often this is the case when something comes up like United States of America, I would replace it with United States, but you see how it's a drop-down menu and these are the accepted countries. So you could map those, let's see, we have one specimen. Maybe I'll remap that to the United Kingdom. And then it goes right there. No longer an issue here. Let's see, we have null country with non-null state or province. So that means that a state is indicated, but it doesn't say what country it's in. So it looks like we have a bunch of specimens that are in California, but it doesn't say that they're in the United States. I'm going to say assign country. There we go, no more issues with that. And you might see, oh, but the issues are still there. It's because I haven't refreshed the page. Now there's not a problem. Okay, questionable states and provinces. This might be when someone says San Luis Obispo County, someone enters something wrong. That's less likely to happen right now because we have a pick list of counties, but it might still happen. Here we have null state province with non-null county, so someone has entered the county but not the state. I happen to know that San Luis Obispo is in California within the United States. I'm going to do that. And then Baja California Sur, oh, that's interesting. I believe that's actually a state within Mexico. So I'm going to replace that, put that in the state field. All right, that one's fixed. Again, I can just refresh the page and then it'll show up that those have been fixed. Questionable counties. This is questionable and it's going to have to stay questionable because there's no way of indicating both Ventura and Kern County currently. So that's okay. But this is, again, where we could have typos or anything that is misrepresented. We could remap that. And then there is null county with non-null locality details. And you're unlikely to be able to fix all of these because sometimes you just can't assign a county because the locality information is too vague. But I can at least look at them and work on them if I have some information about, for example, Nevada geography or Oregon geography. So this requires a little bit more investigation. So I would have to, in essence, georeference these records and figure out what county they're in. But you can still do that from here instead of having to just look for any of the counties that are null. You just do it right here. So, for example, if I knew where Homer, Alaska was, or at least what county it's in, then I could go in here and say, oh, I know it's in Sitka. I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to click that. But then I could say assign county, and then it would immediately assign to every record that has that exact locality string. It would assign the county that I would give to that line. Okay, now going to taxonomy. This one is really useful for resolving typos and such. So what you'll do is there is a taxonomic distributions button, which is just like the geographic distributions. That's a little more general, where you can say, hey, here we have junk ACE, but then we have all caps junk ACE. Maybe I should resolve those. Or maybe there's a family that you don't think is in your currently accepted taxonomy. You can go deeper into any of these. Certain genera in each family. Generally, I just use the Analyze Taxonomic Names tool. And if you click on that, then it's going to tell you how many specimens are not indexed to the central taxonomic thesaurus. And that means these specimens have taxonomic names that are not linked to a specific taxon in our thesaurus, in our taxonomic backbone. And sometimes that's okay because you might have a species that is undescribed or that has recently been described and hasn't been added to the taxonomic thesaurus. This might be a issue particularly right now while we're still building the taxonomic thesaurus. But in this case, you probably don't have 120, so there might just be some issues in there. So luckily there's a lot of text here telling you exactly what it's going to do. This tool is going to crawl through the unindexed names and attempt to resolve name discrepancies. And right now the taxonomic resource that they have in here is Catalog of Life. This may, there may be more in the future. I'm going to select the Plantae. I'm going to say, give me 30 names, so analyze 30 of these names per run. Start index means if you wanted to start, for example, you did A through M before, and now you want to do M through Z, so taxonomic names starting with M through Z, then you could start with M, or start with a particular taxon. I'm just going to start at the beginning. And there are two ways you can do this. Semi-manual, which involves more clicks, and fully automatic, which it will try to resolve things by itself. But I always use semi-manual because generally we want a little more control with what we're doing. I want to be able to analyze exactly what's being mapped where. And I assume that most herbarium curation folks are probably of the same mind. So I'm going to click Analyze Taxonomic Names and let it run for a little while. So you see it's looking up each of the taxonomic names. It's checking Catalog of Life to see if it can find it in there. If it cannot, then it's going to list a bunch of potential matches. Here they're going to be listed right here. If you do want to remap to that taxon because you think that it is the correct taxonomic name, that it should be mapped there, then you click remap. Or you could do a manual search if it didn't find the name because it's too terribly messed up, then you would manually search and you can manually remap. So here we have Abronia pognantha. It looks like it checked Catalog of Life and said, oh, there's an Abronia pogonantha. That's probably what they mean. I can double check by looking at the specimens. Well, this one doesn't have an image yet. Neither does this, but in the future I could double check the specimen records, the images of them, and make sure that it was supposed to be pogonantha. Pretty confident that's supposed to be that, so I'm going to say remap to this taxon, and there it's done it for me. So you can go through each of these and evaluate what the computer has tried to do. Here it says, hey, we don't have this species, but we have this genus, and that specific epithet is an infraspecific epithet. This is more into the weeds, depending on the taxonomic backbone of your institution. So for things like that, this either indicates that you need to annotate that specimen, or it indicates just a difference in opinion or a difference in taxonomic arrangement of your institution and this specific taxonomic thesaurus. So we're just going to choose to not do that because we're going to leave this species in our herbarium, so I can just skip that. And the goal of this tool is not to just be able to click this and it'll say none of your names are in discrepancy with your taxonomic with the taxonomic thesaurus, because that might not be realistic depending on your institution. The goal here is just to fix those issues that are pretty easy to fix. So I've gone through this before and found most of the big problems, but I have a couple more. Let's see, we go down here, I have Alnus rhombipetala. That's weird. There aren't very many petals in Alnus. So it's probably here Alnus rhombifolia, and someone just entered it wrong. I could look this up. Here's an actual record that has an image. This definitely says allness rhombifolia. I don't know where someone got rhombopetala, so I'm going to remap to this taxon. And so on and so forth. You can go through. If you start going through and I say Acriniopterus, oh, I happen to know that this should be Actiniopterus, then you could start your manual search. And we don't happen to have this taxon in the thesaurus yet, but you could type in the whole thing and then click remap. It says not found in the thesaurus, but I'm going to remap it anyways. Oh, I guess I can't. So I'm just going to go to the actual record, change it to Actiniopterus, and there we go. So it's a good way to just be able to find the specimens that are potentially of taxonomic issue, and then remap them if necessary, or access them to edit them manually. So because this involves some, taxonomic thinking and some expertise, it can take some time, but once you've gone through it and spent some time on it, then it's not too bad. All right, are there any questions? These are the main data editing tool or data cleaning tools that we use on a regular basis, especially since we have students entering data and there's likely to be typos. It'll probably decrease the amount of time that we need to spend doing this will probably decrease as time goes on because we have all of these pick lists now instead of having to enter everything by hand. But it can be really useful, especially if you upload batches of data that can then be cleaned in the portal instead of having to clean it beforehand when you have to just look at every single record to make sure that it makes sense. Oh, that's a great question, Rebecca. Does the taxonomic name cleaner have an option for generating annotation labels? Let me look at that. I don't think it currently does, but what you could do is after, you have to wait for this to load really quick. You could go into those specimen records and then add it to the annotation print queue. This does mean you have to do, this would mean you have to do it in batch, but you can alternatively go to your add batch determinations or nomenclatural adjustments, and that's probably how you'd want to do that. So if you notice that one, so you have a species that has since been described as a subspecies or something like that, you can say, okay, anything that is that certain taxon, list that record. I don't know what abronius we have. You can select which specimens you want to print annotation records for. So I say I wanted to do these, or maybe you wanted to do all of that specific taxon, and then you can enter what the annotation is going to be, and then you can add those to the annotation print queue. So great question. Yeah, you would want to go into the batch determinations and nomenclatural adjustments tab to do this. All right, any more questions? I see Rebecca was typing still. So the Jepsen flora is currently what is building our taxonomic backbone, and that is what most of our taxonomic thesaurus is going to be referenced against. It's just for things that you cannot find, it'll look in Catalog of Life. I don't know if we're currently making an interchange with the Jepsony flora, but that's a good question. All right. If there are no more questions, thanks for joining me, you all. And if you have any more questions, you can, of course, email me. You guys have my contact information. And I'm happy to work with you via email, via phone, however you need to do this to be able to edit your data and clean your data however you need. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.